Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Hendrien and I do 3D clay printing here in my studio in South Africa. And right now my studio is a little bit dirty, but we're just gonna look past it because yeah, it's just been a bit of a crazy week. But let's start from where we left off last time. Last time I was chatting about creating some work and showing you guys some of the techniques that I do when I'm creating some of my pottery that I've 3D printed. But let's just say I had a little bit of a kiln catastrophe. As a potter, I'm used to stuff coming out of the kiln and it not working. But this time it wasn't good. So I had 3D printed quite a few works. I was prepping for a collection. I was getting everything ready so that I could build my portfolio because I had scheduled appointments to go and visit some of the galleries and chat to some of the owners. But because we live in South Africa, we are having problems with load shedding. For those who don't know what load shedding is when the government, because they have mismanaged the public entity that supplies power to the entire country, they've stolen all the money, and yes, I guess they're trying to fix what other people have stolen and messed up before. Now they're trying to fix it, but the consequences is that we don't have enough power to keep the lights on, and there's just a lot of mismanagement. So what happens is that they switch the power off at different intervals. So for example, if it's stage 2, we may not have power between 8 o'clock and 10:30 at night, and then again from 4 o'clock in the morning to 6:30 in the morning. And then stage 3, it just escalates from there. So you can have power outages during the day between 6 to 12 hours a day, depending on what level we are on. And unfortunately, we went to stage 4, which is quite a high level of power outages, which we haven't really had in a very long time. And this just kind of coincided with my kiln firing of my entire collection. And so what happened was everything went into the kiln for the glaze firing. Everything was good. But as soon as stage 4 kicked in, they didn't let us know. They didn't give us warning. And so while the kiln was firing, we went into stage 4. And then obviously the kiln heats up, doesn't reach temperature, and then starts to cool down. But because everything's already in the kiln, the studio that's firing the stuff in the kiln have no choice but to keep everything in there and keep trying to get it up to temperature. And they struggled for 4 days. It was the longest kiln firing I think they've ever attempted to get everything up to temperature. And I remember standing in front of the kiln looking at this thing going, it's only above 1,000 degrees and it needs to reach up to just under 1,200 degrees. Anyway, so I was really stressed, and after this 4-day long struggle, they finally thought they'd reached the heat that they felt the kiln, everything would be fine inside the kiln. And I was leaving for Cape Town on the Sunday, and on the Friday everything was coming out of the kiln. Because of all the power outages, they hadn't had any chances to fire everything for weeks. So it was literally up to the last minute. And I remember getting that message from my friend who's the owner of that studio, and she said to me, I don't think some of your stuff has made it. She hasn't taken everything out, but some of the stuff that she has taken out just didn't make it. And I rushed to the studio and I braced myself for the worst, and boy was it bad. It was really bad. I think I was in shock. She was in shock. I think it wasn't a very pleasant experience because it was my entire collection that I'd been working on for months. And it wasn't the studio's fault, obviously. The instability in the kiln, my works just couldn't handle it. It was just too much heat for too long periods of time and not reaching up. So they were literally just falling apart as you touch them. You could put them back together and they'd look perfect. But as soon as you started moving them, then they just kind of came apart, and a lot of them had cracks in them. So you had to handle them so carefully, because if you handled it wrong, you could actually slice half your hand open. That's how sharp some of those things were. So it was really I would like to say that I was okay, but I really wasn't okay. And I remember just taking some photos, packing stuff in boxes. I'm thinking, I gotta head to Cape Town. I gotta meet the gallery owners. I have to make a portfolio. I have nothing. Everything's just going wrong. It was really difficult time. Threw in the boxes and I left. I remember sitting there that night and I'm sitting in my bed and I'm chatting to my partner and he's trying to just make me feel better. And my friend sends me a message from the studio and she'd taken the time to take some photos of my works. What she'd done is she'd put them together where they'd broken, so you can't see that they're broken. And I remember sitting there feeling so thankful that she had done that, because that was one of the nicest things anyone's ever done for me. Just by taking some photos, lifted my spirit so much and showed me, you know what, you can do this. And I did end up using some of the photos she took in my portfolio to show some of the galleries the following week. So I went to Cape Town. I met some of the gallery owners and their feedback was interesting. I think as an artist going into this, I'd never actually gone and shown my work to anyone before. This was the first time that I'd started sharing my 3D prints with people that could potentially sell them for me. And it was an interesting experience chatting to them and hearing their perception, how they viewed my work, what they were looking for in artists, how their gallery was structured in terms of where they had, you know, different types of works. And a lot of them were more 2D, so there weren't a lot of sculptures. And one of the things that I found interesting was that some of the gallery owners didn't want to display my art or showcase my art because it was pottery. Because pottery, they say, is so fragile, and trying to sell it and ship it, the insurance cost of that will be so high and they're not willing to take the risk. And I was taken aback by this a little, I'm not going to lie. As a potter, you don't like to hear someone say, you know, your work is good, your concept is good, we love what you're doing, but we're not really going to take this on because we're scared that the insurance may be too high and that's a, you know, a huge risk for us. And I completely understand that, but it did shock me a little. So in a way, I think the more people say no, the more I'm like, I will prove you wrong. So none of them said no outright. They just said, you know, let's see what happens in the future. So that was nice. Overall, I think maybe I hadn't gone to the right galleries because they were more into 2D. So I need to look at other galleries that are more pottery forward, that would maybe like my work a bit more, that aren't afraid to maybe take on something like that. So I'm excited to kind of look at other avenues to explore. I'm back at the studio now. That's why it is such a huge mess. It's been, yeah, nuts. I had to redo some of the work because I have to send out my portfolio to some galleries because I'd like to apply for some group and solo exhibitions for next year. So I've had to create another portfolio again because everything else was in pieces. So also I've got competitions coming up that I'm entering, and that's at the end of this month. And I spent a few days creating a few works. They're absolutely stunning, and I'm sorry I can't show them to you right now. Obviously, I'm still waiting for them to come out of the kiln. I just need to fix them up a little, and then I can show you. And then I'm so proud. One of my goals for this year was to enter the Sasol New Signatures art competition. That's one of the bigger competitions in South Africa. And if you get into the top 100, you're into the catalog and you get featured. And it's just something I've always wanted to get into. And I've entered the competition for the past, I didn't enter last year, but the year before that. No, I did enter last year, actually, I'm lying. I entered last year and then skipped a year because of COVID, and then entered and I never got in. And then this year I got into the top 100, so I'm so excited. They emailed me yesterday to RSVP to the award ceremony, so I'm super excited. It's taken me a really long time to just start talking about my art and being confident about my work. And I mean, I have an art coach who kind of coaches me through that, and she's absolutely amazing to kind of help me get out of my shell and just think about things differently and how you want to word it and how are you thinking about the art and why are you making the art. Because I'm not making clay prints just for the sake of making clay prints. I'm making art. I'm not a mass manufacturer. I had a friend message me yesterday on Facebook, and he was like, it's lovely to see your work doesn't look mass produced, because when you think 3D printing, people sometimes think mass production, and that's exactly where I'm not going. I'm going fine art. I'm going the opposite. I want them to be like, each print is unique. There's a lot of thought behind it. You know, the colors I'm using, what is the concept? So there's a lot happening that I haven't actually spoken to you guys about, because I've kind of been keeping it bottled up inside, being ready to explode and share my art. And then the kiln explosion happened and everything went absolutely wrong, and I was like, what am I doing? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And then luckily I got back on track again, but it's just been like an up and down roller coaster, and I'm just kind of on the ride, but it's going a lot better now. So I'm hoping the kiln, like the bisque fire for my work, is happening. I think it was today or yesterday or maybe tomorrow. What's today? Friday. But load shedding has started again, and they keep saying we may have load shedding, we may have load shedding, and I'm just going, oh my gosh, can we not? Can we not? We haven't had any load shedding the last month, and now when I need to have stuff fired, now it's like we're going into load shedding, and I am trying to keep it together, and I'm just like, please, oh please, can this not happen again? So I need you guys to just hold thumbs to me, because I can't have that happen. I can't. So yeah, I'm not going through a crisis. Everything's fine. I'm still working on that Udemy course, guys. It's coming along. It's a lot. I realize it's going to be a long Udemy course on 3D clay printing, because I want to give as much information as I possibly can. And I'm like, okay, at some point you need to just stop. And I'm not there yet. So I've said I need to do a bit more writing, but by like the 23rd of August, I need to be done writing. And then I've already shot some of the stuff that I need to film, and then we take it from there. So exciting stuff is happening in the next few months. Competitions, some exhibitions, and just sharing my art with you guys. And I'd love to hear from you guys. If there are any fellow potters out there, any 3D makers. Doesn't have to be pottery. I feel like we're kind of all under the same umbrella. The materials may be different, but I feel like the struggle is real and we go through the same things. So there is that. But yeah, thanks for joining today. I hope you guys enjoy my prints. Bye.